You know, it's funny because I never really, in terms of gender, until very recently in my life, because I never felt different. I never felt a difference in my sexuality until I moved to Lebanon and was confronted with the uber masculinity, hyper masculinity. And at first it was a big challenge to understand who I am as a woman, because the perceptions of being, the expectations of being a woman in the Arab world were very different from mine. So at the beginning of the artworks I was making, it was more about questioning my gender. And then with time, I realized maybe the reason why I don't femininity so much is because I'm trying to protect myself against this very masculine world around me. And then with time, by, let's say, embracing the feminine world through my work, it created kind of bubble or a barrier where I felt a lot more comfortable to express myself through my work and not really through my body. And that's an interesting separation between physical presence and then the artwork. For most of my life, I had very short hair, and most people thought I was a... And I only started growing out hair when I started painting and found, you know, a kind of sanctuary. And then, of course, you know, given the political background of where I live, I don't want to oversimplify it, but I mean, women give life, you know, and in my part of the world, you know, it's men that you see carrying the gun. Now, I'm not saying women don't carry guns, and I'm not saying that they're different, because war is war and everyone is involved. But it's just the visual perception, you know, is very strong, this image of men carrying guns. So I realized that in order to combat this this violence around me, I had to use my most powerful weapon, which was something deep inside, deeper than sexuality, you know, and it's maybe, you know, the feminine. And by creating works that are super pink and delicate with flowers, I think it makes a good irony also to the violence around me. And in fact, you know, something that was very difficult for me to deal with growing up became my tool.
Thank you. Sputnika?
In my case, I was born in Japan, I grew up in Japan, but I had a British mom who's a super career woman. She was teaching in university in Japan, and she kept on sort of encouraging me to be strong and don't be that Japanese woman, traditional woman. But then when I switch on the TV, I would see a Japanese quiz show saying, which wife would you like to marry? A beautiful wife who can't cook. B, an ugly wife who's amazing at cooking. Which one? And I just see this on TV. And my nephew, who's 6, he would be like, A, you know, from a very young age. And, you know, and then you see 12-year-old girls dancing in school uniforms in front of 30-year-old men and as pop idols. So you just see this every day growing up. But then, you know, I was studying maths, and I had ambitions, and I studied science in university, and it's just, again, like, you know, people don't expect women to be, you know, be doing maths, or, you know, if I say, oh, I'm a mathematician, or if I'm a programmer, you always get that reaction. So it's sort of, it was almost like, without me realizing, since very young, I was encountering these problems. And in my work, I don't particularly think I make gender-related works. I think I just pick up problems surrounding me quite naturally and make works from it. And I think that's how it naturally happened, that some things that I got and I noticed or I wanted to talk about were from my personal experiences of growing up in Japan, having a British mom, studying in Britain, comparing the two cultures and women in two cultures. But recently, after getting more and more people know about my work, especially in Japan, when I organize an event, Sputniko event, I noticed that maybe 80% of the people who come to the event are young women between 18 to 25 years old. And these girls, a lot of them tell me that they feel brave to see a woman creating these works and talking about how she thinks in public in Japan. So they come to my event, and I could see that they're feeling stronger about how to live their next 10, 20, 30 years in Japan. Or other outside of Japan too. But so that's quite moving. That's quite really nice feeling for me, is because when I was growing up, I always had role models who are often female artists. I quite liked Miranda July, Laurie Anderson. I love the Riot Girl movement, like Sonic Youth. And so those women really helped me go through my youth. So it's sort of nice to see that happening a little bit around me in Japan as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you're both very inspiring for a generation of young women. We are running out of time, so I do want to make sure that we open up for questions, if there are any from the audience. Yes.
お二人とも貴重な興味深いお話をありがとうございました。ゼンナさんに伺いたいんですが、今回私アラブエクスプレス展を拝見してとてもびっくりしました。でそれはアラブの世界というところで女性のアーティストというものがとても作品を発表して活躍していると。でアラブの世界といってもたくさんいろんな地域があってそれぞれ事情が違うっていうのは分かるんですが、例えばゼンナさんの場合は何かアラブの世界の女性として特別な何かを持っている、例えばなんていうかな、社会的なステータスだとか何かアラブで女性が活躍作品を発表する上で条件があるとすればそれが何なのかを伺いたいと思います。
Thank you for the question. Zaina, the question, if I got this right, I hope I did, is the lady who asked the question was very impressed by the number of Arab women who took part in in Arab Express in the exhibition here, and she's very aware that different contexts in the Arab world exist, and but she's curious to know that as a woman in the Arab world, what the social status is for you as an artist, and sort of what preconditions you might have had. So, was there anything in particular that allowed you to sort of succeed as an artist relative to other women? Is that correct? Okay.
It was very difficult, and it's still very difficult. I can't speak for the whole Arab world. It's a big region, but specifically in Lebanon, there's a misconception that in Lebanon, women are the most free and liberated, compared to the rest of the women around the Middle East. But in reality, we still, on the social level, suffer a lot. For example, I don't have the right as a Lebanese woman to pass off nationality, which means if I marry a foreigner, I can't give him my nationality, and my children won't get my nationality. This among many issues, but I think that alone says a lot. I'm not really then a full citizen of where I live. The art world in Lebanon is dominated by men, and it was very difficult trying to exhibit my work, also because nobody knew how to explain it or talk about it. I think because of the way it looks and pushes a lot of buttons that sometimes people don't want to deal with. I feel that I'm still struggling, not just in the Middle East, but also in the world, for the same reasons. That I think that there still aren't enough platforms to show and share the kind of work that making, and that's why I personally rely a lot on social media and my website, and and lately Twitter and YouTube. It's definitely a very long journey. If you compare prices of Lebanese male artists, the prices that their work sell for, and then the prices of women artists, there's a huge division. I don't know how you want to define the term success, because I know on my part it's not based on finances, but rather on, let's say, inner fulfillment. So I feel that as long as I have the opportunity to keep making what I do, I know that time and persistence and hard work, a lot of hard work, that I will continue to find venues to show and share my work. And I really believe in the future of technology, because really in the last years, just a few years, so much has changed, and I don't think I would have been able to share my work with so many people, if it wasn't for the internet, website, etc.